everybody. Welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Did you want to say hi?
Oh, hey, I thought you were just
Okay,
going to
hi.
introduce us all.
So today we have a controversial topic, contracts. Controversial because what do you put in them? What do you take out of them? What are you offended by? But let's see. Who are we going to talk to today? Tara, you want to go first?
Yes, I am Tara. I am a third-time gestational carrier. I am currently pregnant with my third surrogate baby. I have been married for almost 5 years and I have one son of my own.
Yay.
Okay,
Thank you for
wow.
being here. So excited. Okay, and then Letty.
So I'm Letty. I'm a two-time surrogate. I'm currently pregnant, pending beta. And I've been married for 6 years, and I have a almost 6-year-old, one of my own. She's a little firecracker. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yay. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being here. I'm excited to talk about contracts. I mean, I am and I'm not. But okay. So, I mean, let's just start with like the basic, I guess, right? So, in your contracts, it is whatever you agree to for your compensation, that's going to be in there and that should be in there. And then I've always had it in my contracts where it says like, oh, at week 12, this is how much is coming from your compensation, like into your pocket. And like, like little things and like med start and I'm trying to think of like sometimes people get like contract or
Legal
contract
fees.
Yeah,
Mhm.
legal fees.
Yeah, I got legal fees this time, and
You
that was
did?
part of the fees. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
That is nice.
That's nice. Yeah,
Wait,
but
I'm curious. Why did you get legal fees? Did you not have an attorney from the agency, or are you going independent?
Well, it was so it's like a legal clearance bonus so that gets paid out once you sign.
Okay.
And I mean, quite honestly, by the time you're signing contracts, you've put so much time, energy, like sometimes tears and frustration like into the journey that I'm just like, yes, thank you. So it was really nice, something that they offered me, and I was just like,
Nice.
sure. Yeah.
good.
I like
Did
that.
have you ever had that, Tara?
I did have that in my first two journeys, and I was like, that's really nice. Each step of the way with that agency, I'm realizing of how nice that agency actually was. And because of what I've gone through now, I realized of how nice that agency actually was compared to what I've been through now. That each step of the way, they're like, here's this, and then here's this at this point. So that was really nice.
Yeah. I think I only got it. I think I got it once. I think it was my first agency because my second agency I had them twice and they didn't care. So
I never got that.
Oh, well,
Never
sucks for you, Mom.
Never.
Just kidding.
Whatever.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess let's talk about like what else. Like what are there things that you ladies have like taken out of contracts? Like
Travel. Like I've always edited the travel thing because I feel like some of them are super strict of where you can go and such like that. Because there's one restaurant that my husband and I like to go to, and it's 100 miles away. So yeah, and so with my first two surrogacy journeys, I wasn't able to go there after a certain point because per contract it was I couldn't travel 100. It was 102 miles. So I was like, really, I can't go there. So I made sure within this one, I was like, I can travel to go to my favorite restaurant. So that was really important to
That's
me.
cool.
That's
I
great.
mean,
Good.
good. At least you figured that out and you were like, I want this is so
Mhm.
did you like just put it like 130 or whatever? Or?
Yes. Yep. My lawyer said to just do it 130. That way, if any wiggle room with that. I was like, okay, good idea.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Smart enough. Yeah, I know
Yep.
we talked to somebody before where they couldn't travel and it was like sad circumstances too, like where
Oh,
somebody had
huge.
passed away and like nobody would let them go to, I think it was like a close relative too. It was like a
It was.
brother-in-law and like they couldn't
Yep.
even go to their funeral because in
And
the
she wasn't
contract,
even trying to fly. She was trying to drive.
yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't even drive. We're not gonna let you. I was like, oh my God. So very sad.
That'd be
That's
so
so
sad.
crazy.
Crazy. Letty, have you taken anything out or changed?
You know what I've noticed? So I've seen 5 contracts total. Like the shortest has been this journey. It was like 38 pages, and I was like, what? That's it? Like I was like looking for more. Just like super surprised because the very first contract that I looked at, I think was 74 4 pages, something like that.
Okay.
So this, I was like, I'm missing half the contract, right? So it's just so different.
Yeah.
Like in length, I think that this one, I probably edited more, even though it was so short, but it was also very like general, and I wanted things to be like more specific. Whereas like that 78 page contract was like super specific, and that was also my first one. So I was like, okay, whatever, sure, like yes, 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 yes to everything. So some of the things that I edited on this part was mostly that had to do with like choices about my own body, like making sure that I had body autonomy, like I could still make decisions, and I didn't want like procedures to be like, when there was a lot of like, when requested or suggested by the intended parent, and that's not something like my intended parent put in there. It's just like the way the general contract was written, and I was like, oh no,
good,
we're not doing that, right? So we went through all of it that had anything to do with like medical procedures or anything that had to do with like decisions that I should be making, and made sure that it said like when medically necessary and recommended by the OBGYN, like or treating physician, whatever. So we just completely took any intended parent like verbatim out.
Good.
So
good. Yeah, that's safe. I mean, I've had things similar like that too. That actually got me in trouble with my last journey. So I can't like verbatim say what was there, but
yeah,
it's kind of crazy how much legal jargon is like around like the calls that like you have about your body. Like a lot of the times they like kind of want to sneak it in and like and words to make it be like, you don't have control over your body. We do. And it's like, I don't think that that's appropriate all the time. Like,
there's something that there's something that said like intended parents will choose like something, and I was like, well, why would they be choosing? Like, so just that. And my intended mom was so like, yeah, like I agree, like, so
perfect, good. So there wasn't any animosity
issues
there.
No.
Good. Okay, have you guys like, is there anything that like you wanted to like add that like wasn't even in there like at all?
I did add, for me, I've added every time since my first journey. Thankfully, my first set of intended parents were also my second.
Well, that's right.
The first journey, didn't go into it knowing that I was going to have a C-section. We were going to hope for a VBAC, but ended up having a C-section. And I needed my husband to be with me during that healing time, because to get my son to school and whatnot to help me. So they told the agency that they were willingly to pay my husband's lost wages for 2 weeks, which I thought was really kind of them to like offer that. So I made sure to put that in my contract, like moving forward, like I need him to be there with me after, because who's gonna, like, I can't drive after a C-section to take my son to school and stuff like that. So that was really important to me to make sure that I had my help afterwards.
Good.
No, that is good. But I feel like that should be everywhere. Like that should be, I mean, I feel like, especially if you have a C-section, you should definitely have a person help you to do things. Like if your husband, like I like that. I like that they offered, and I like that they allowed it to be in your contract. It should be standard.
And when Tara talked about that on her Instagram stories, it was kind of like around the time that I was going to get my contract. So I made a note. I was like, oh, Tara said, and I went back. And so I think that's why it's so important to talk about these things, like, especially if you have like a big platform, or even if it's not a big platform, whatever, to say these things out loud, because thanks to Tara, I went into that section and I was like, hey, what are they like saying that they're going to pay him for, or like, do for us if there is a C-section, for example. So
it's not necessarily just a C-section. I had one where I lost 3 pints of blood, and it was not a C-section. And I needed help. I couldn't, I was restricted from driving because my blood levels were too low. And so I think it should be worded somewhere of the, if there's any medical necessity or any medical reason for that,
for
that
a caretaker
right off of, for sure. Then, because it can be for a host of things. Like you could get MRSA and have to be put in like isolation. Like there's a lot of different things that can happen. But
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I think it's very important.
Oh my
Very.
gosh. Knock on wood. Okay.
I know.
Like none of these things are great, but like no, I'm just saying like
They
it's
can
just,
happen.
no, I know they
Yeah,
happen.
worst case scenario, and you never think it's gonna happen to you, of course. Like you just like hope and pray it doesn't. But
Yep.
You
like
have
Ellen
to.
says, like you have to prepare for the worst because once it's in writing, like you're stuck.
Yep.
Yep.
Once you sign on that
Yep.
dotted line, you're
Yep.
stuck. And then you get into things where you're just like, it's not fair, but they're like, so bad, you know, oh well, too bad, so sad. So
Yep. And
you
it's
have to.
crazy. It's awful. But at times, like especially like first time surrogates, they're like, well, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you know, like there's it's just it's
So
harder to think when you're a first time surrogate, like what is worst case scenario? Like what
changed
is
thing on my first contract. I swear that lawyer that I had was also with my intended parents because I didn't feel like they were working with me. I felt like they were very much working for my intended parents. So I didn't change anything whatsoever in that contract, and I just wanted to move forward. I was like, let's just go, like,
Yeah.
and so I just signed whatever and said yes to everything.
okay.
And you know what? I had the first one, same thing. Like I suggested a change and she was so snarky. The paralegal that worked for the
Mhm.
lawyer, she was so rude. I almost felt like, oh my God, I need to shut up and just like say okay. Like because and as a first time surrogate, you're like, oh yeah, like you know, when I asked, she just made it sound like, well, why would you, why would you do that? Or I guess if that's what you want. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, what? Now I'd be like, excuse me, no, we're not doing this,
Yes.
but yeah.
It's crazy. And so wait, home before I forget this one thought. When it comes to contracts, each party needs to have a separate lawyer.
Yes.
Separate lawyer. In the past, I never got to pick my lawyer. I was just handed one.
Same.
No.
And like
this time I was like, I will be getting my own.
I got like a list of like lawyers and I like figured out, okay, who can I choose this time? And like I still haven't even talked to her. That's a whole other story. But I got to pick my lawyer this time and I'm like, cool. She's vetted. Like I'm good with it because like good. Like she's done this before. It's good.
You were
You have
comfortable with the choice.
yeah, you have to
That's
be
what's
you have
important.
to feel like you can trust your lawyer because I'm just speaking from experience, you guys, because there are times like I don't know if you guys have ever asked for a clarification in your contracts. This is where everything got messed up for me because I asked for a clarification in my contract before I signed it and I was like, "Hey, does this mean A or does this mean B?" And my lawyer legally advised me that it meant A. And then come time to that thing, it miraculously turned to be. And I had already signed the documents, and that's where my journey went kaput. And I was being threatened to be sued on the birthing table. Like, so it's really, really important if you don't understand something, just like go on Google and like change the like get synonyms that like
Yes.
don't count.
Well, you can change it. Like when I talked to my lawyer, there was like a line in there. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, all it's saying is this. I was like, okay, can we change it to plain English? He's like, absolutely. He did.
Yep.
He just changed it to plain English. It was really
good.
like detailed, but there was no like way to misinterpret.
Right.
Because law, that's what law is.
Yeah, why
one
is
judge
it
can
like
interpret
that?
law.
Oh
It's
my
so
gosh.
crazy.
That's a whole different podcast, girl.
I know, but it's crazy though. But misinterpret. There's so much legal jargon. We talked to Joanna Beck Wilkinson, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I should
She's
have
so
gone back."
great.
She's
I
amazing,
love her.
and I know I love her. But no, but she had said something on the podcast, and now I forget what it was. But it was like maybe you remember, Mom. It was like a certain word or a certain phrase, and she's like, "If you see this anywhere in your contract, go back and change it to this." Like,
yes,
because this
I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember what it was.
Was it when she was talking about how you get paid? Like you can't say after the baby is born because then it makes it sound like they're paying you for that baby.
Oh, maybe.
I swear she said something
After
like
delivery.
I know she
has
said
to
that,
be
but
like
there was
14 days after delivery or
okay.
whatever.
Yeah, she did say that, but there was something else that was like so basic. So I was like, wait, I've seen that everywhere in all my contracts. And she's like, no, change it to like these 3 words. And it's like, oh, how simple. Like you can't misinterpret like when, what, where. Like it's Dang, I should go back and listen to that.
Yeah, something. And then also I remember one of the old agencies I was with, one of like their like people in charge of the case managers said that she had a surrogate who had a miscarriage and had to like carry the baby for weeks but wasn't paid comp because the way the contract was written, it was like
No heartbeat or something.
Yeah,
like,
basically the way that the legal garbage, I'm not even gonna call it garbage, just it was basically like she was not paid even though she was still pregnant with the baby, and she was gonna have to birth the baby, but it was like scheduled or whatever. It was like a miscarriage. It was just like a whole thing. I was like, she was telling me, and I was like, so she's like, anytime you see that in your contract, you want to make sure that they're not making you, they're not paying, that they're going to continue to pay you as long as you are carrying a fetus, alive or
deceased, right?
not. Right. Yeah. Because if you have something happens and you're just waiting to miscarry, right? Because maybe that's your choice, like to let your body do its thing. But it's still a lot of pain and suffering, right? So it could be like 1-2 weeks and then your body releases, but that she wasn't getting paid anymore. Or she didn't qualify for some of like the things like bed rest and stuff because she wasn't pregnant anymore. Like,
right.
Oh, that is crazy.
No viable, viable heartbeat.
It wasn't viable.
Yeah, viable heartbeat's a big one. Yeah, they use that a lot. Viable heartbeat. I didn't get paid. I did the same thing. It was a long time. I had
with the twins.
Yep. Wow. And they wouldn't release. And so then I had to go get the D&C. And so I didn't get paid for any of that.
Yeah, if you're like on bed rest and stuff, it's like you're not pregnant anymore. Yeah.
Right. But you're waiting to get the D&C. You're waiting for your body to do what it needs to do. It was weeks. Yeah. Like nothing.
Can they even imagine as to what that surrogate is even going through? Like, yeah, I understand they could have parents are upset, like absolutely, but we get to carry that for them and ourselves while we have that. And oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When she told me that, I just thought like, you're lying. And she just went into so much detail. I was like, okay, I believe you. So it was just crazy. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah.
No, you can't. But it's also not talked. It's not talked about. So like now, like people like that is because that is a worst case scenario. Like you never go into it thinking, oh, I'm gonna have a D&C or oh, I'm gonna have a miscarriage. Like it's never something that you want to think about. But like hearing that story, like, okay, now as surrogates, it's our due diligence now to make sure that, okay, we've heard this story. We need to go through the contract and make sure that, hey, if I'm going to be waiting several weeks, how am I going to be feeling about that? Do I feel like, okay, I still should be being compensated because I am technically pregnant? Like personally, I feel like I should be because that's mental, like to the max. Like,
and there's a whole nother procedure you have to go through.
Yeah.
If it doesn't release on its own, you have to go through a D&C. That's not a walk in the park.
No.
That's not
and
fun.
Then like bed rest, I think the problem with her is like she needed bed rest or something, like she was off work, but like they weren't going to pay lost wages or anything because she's not pregnant anymore technically. I mean, and I was like, that's like
not okay.
People just,
that's not okay. And documents are already signed. Nothing can be done about it. So she just had to sit there and deal. And like,
but again, it's scenarios you don't think about. You don't go forward.
Yeah, I would have never imagined. Yeah.
Of course I'm going to have a vaginal birth. Of course I'm going to have one.
Right.
No.
Or like a straightforward miscarriage. Like, oh, if I lose the baby, like first trimester or something, like I'm gonna start bleeding, go to the ER, send me home. We'll go through the 3 days. They'll pay me if there's a fee, and then you're done. But that doesn't always happen.
Doesn't always happen.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Another thing I changed in this one, some of the fees that they had, I wanted it to say unaccountable, like that I wasn't going to have to be showing like receipts for them because it was kind of giving unaccountable, but it didn't say unaccountable. It didn't say I needed to show receipts, but it also didn't say I didn't have to. That makes sense. Like it didn't go, so it could be interpreted. And I know kind of you were talking about escrow companies and stuff. So what I learned last journey is that escrow companies go by the contract to the T.
Yes,
And if
they
they can interpret, and if they need to interpret something, they will usually go like to the IPs. Like they'll be like, we need a receipt, because that's who they're,
Right.
whose money it is.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember last journey, they tried to ask me for, I'd already given birth, and I was supposed to be able to get 6 weeks of lost wages.
Okay.
And they wanted me to prove or have another doctor's note, like after the first 2 weeks or something. I was like, my contract says I will be paid for 6 weeks of lost wages. And you have the doctors, like, they're like, well, I'm like, it doesn't say I need to continue to prove I'm still off. Like, I just birthed a baby. Like, and so after that, because they were like, she had to talk to like the legal department to see how if that was fine. And so now everything that doesn't say that I need a receipt, or that is like, must submit receipts within 30 days, I made my lawyer write unaccountable, because I'm not trying to be harassed about receipts later for like maternity clothing, right? Or stuff that my fee schedule with the agency already said was not accountable. I wanted to make sure it transferred over to contract that way.
Okay. See, I like that. I'm probably gonna steal that, because
good, do it.
I've never done escrow, so like it's terrifying to have to know that I have to give a receipt for every freaking penny, and I'm just like, this is just trust me. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I have to go through that all the time.
It's stressful.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, this is not going to be fun for me come next year when I have the baby and I have to submit all of this stuff to make sure that I'm getting compensated. Like, this is going to really frustrate me and upset me. I'm already going to be going through the emotions of having a baby. And then all of a sudden, it's my very last journey, last pregnancy, all those emotions that are going to go with it, like closing that chapter. And then I have to deal with them to make sure that I get my compensation. I was telling my husband, like, I'm not even looking forward to that, because yes, the escrow company is kind, but how they do things is so frustrating.
Is it?
Yes,
it is.
It is.
So you guys,
what do you have to submit receipts for? Like what?
Everything.
Example? Like,
so they're very tedious.
You don't have
I had 2 MapQuests showing of where my house is and where the airport is to ensure that I drove that mileage. I was like,
you're kidding, Tara.
Wow.
So I kind of had to do that only when it was over the miles. Because you know how like the fee was like, okay, you get $50 for anything under 100 round trip. So if I wanted to get paid for more than that, I had to I think I just gave the address, and like the agency took care of it. I think they
my
provided.
agency doesn't talk to me at all. I think that they're just like a matching place, and they just sent me on my way. I'm not sure. I would rather good riddance, but I just work with the escrow company, and that
you have to do all the work.
Yeah, I have to do everything.
That's what everybody keeps saying about escrow, and I'm just like,
so let me ask you a question.
I didn't have to do any of that.
In the contracts, does it say you get a maternity clothes allowance of, I'm just going to throw a number, $800 at week 16? Does it say that?
Yeah.
Do you have to do the receipts that equal $500 or $800, or are they just giving you the fee?
Before, I never had approved receipts with that. Now with this one, I'm curious if they're going to be like, show us.
That's ridiculous, though. That's ridiculous. If it says in your contract that you are allotted $800 for maternity clothes, give me the $800 for maternity clothes. I am not going to go and be like, well, let me see this receipt. Because what if I wanted to go return it and I don't like that size, and now I have to get a new size, and I have to do the that's too. I'm sorry. Pregnant people have the worst brains. Like, we forget all the things.
And who wants to go back?
Leave us alone.
And honestly, bottom line, the amount of work to show like keeping the receipts. First of all, I can barely, like, my head is attached to my body, and that's why it is not lost. Like, keeping all of those receipts, right? Having to submit them, and then keeping track of what you're getting back, right? Like, you're like $18.20 plus $36, and making sure that that's your deposit. Like,
it's crazy. The only time I ever had to give receipts was my second journey, and I had to do it for gas. It was just for like if you like however much you travel,
Mileage over.
Yeah, just like mileage. And I was like, okay, because the clinic was far. So okay, great. But then as it got closer, I didn't really have to like submit anything. I think
they just knew.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of people have it, like I know this one is true. If your IPs want you to eat healthier, then you have to submit the receipts if you're getting paid like extra to eat organically or whatever it is, which like
that makes sense.
That makes sense. Like I'll give that one a pass because like organics is more expensive. I'm not just buying the normal broccoli. I'm buying the very expensive broccoli, which looks the same, but like
But even then, okay, it does make sense, but also don't you trust your surrogate? Like she's carrying a child. You don't trust her to buy organic broccoli? Like I don't understand. Make it make sense.
But yeah, she said it. She signed it. And a lot of surrogates, especially first-time surrogates, are very like to the T of their contract because they're like, oh my gosh. Like I remember one time in one of my contracts, they were like, if you go get your nails done, you have to wear a mask. I'm like, in the place? Like in the place I have to, even if the doors are open and the fans are on. And he's like, yeah, and I do everything by the books. Do you know what I mean? Like everything is by
you think.
Yeah, I feel like
you try.
Even not as a first, and this is why contracts are so important, right? Because I want to follow my contract to the T.
Absolutely.
Like I'm not trying to like breach anything, right? I want to follow it to the T. But that is why I go in and like read that thing line by line, highlight, re-highlight, throw unaccountable things. But I know this now as a first-time surrogate, like you sign and you're just shit out of luck. Like if you didn't read that right, or I saw a surrogate on here, obviously no names, but she signed her contract and there was no talk of compensation in the contract.
No.
And she didn't get paid.
What?
They stopped sending payments. And then at the end, they never give lump sum. Like she just stopped getting paid.
No.
And I was like, have you talked to the lawyer? And then when she said that about the contract, I was like, girl, just basically like wipe your tears, girl, and just
keep going.
Move on. Because there is nothing, there is no way to request, plead, sue. Like there's nothing that you can do if you sign that contract and there was zero mention of compensation.
How awful of her.
That's why they're so important.
Right.
No, but like, just like
how did her
who
lawyer
missed it?
that?
Yeah, and that's what.
Yep.
And it was kind of, I think, a situation, and I'm just like now making this up. This is what I think happened, is that the lawyer was picked by the intended parents. She trusted them.
Yeah.
Too much trust. Too much trust.
Way too much.
And I don't mean that in like, I mean, you have to look out for yourself until the end, because you're your only advocate.
There's a difference. Right. You can definitely trust your IP. I think you should, obviously, when you match and it's a good match, obviously there is some trust that goes on. And like, yes, you should trust them and they should trust you. It should be mutual respect, mutual trust. But at the same time, at the end of the day, just speaking as a person who has been through hell, like at the end of the day, the only person that's going to protect you is you. Like not even your lawyer. I can't even say that your lawyer is. I don't know your lawyer. I'm just saying you are your best advocate for yourself. Like,
yeah,
you have to do it.
The lawyers are getting paid from the IP, so they are representing you. But
but that's not to say that lawyers are bad. No, they're not.
Absolutely
not.
It's
just you protect you way better than anybody else's because you're the only one who understands your needs to the fullest.
If you're a brand new surrogate, I would honestly, somebody that you trust, have them read your contract before you submit any changes and see if they can understand it and see if they think, oh, you don't get to decide if you get an amniocentesis. You can't say no. What? Like, let them read it and see if because you're blurred. You're like, oh yeah, this is great. Let me sign because I want to get busy.
The love goggles. You're like, I love my IP.
Yeah.
I mean, I say it like that, but really, I mean, once you like click or you have a relationship and you just, you have like, you're just like, these people would never hurt me, and they may not, but then also we read your contract, like,
I had no body autonomy. They had say over everything I did. on all three, especially the triplet journey.
Well, this was also like 20 plus years ago
It
when
was, but
you
I'm
didn't have a lot of say on your
Mhm.
body.
How did it change? And some are still the same.
No, for sure.
Some
I know. I'm
contexts
just, I
don't allow
know, I
you.
know.
Like I couldn't get to choose. Like if they wanted an amniocentesis, they got to have one. Why? Who says it's medically necessary? Nobody. Nobody says
Oh,
it's medically
they
necessary.
literally they were in
They,
charge. Like not like
It's
the
like-
doctors. It was like literally the
the
IPs.
attended parents.
Oh, no.
Right. No. Right. So I did a lot of testing that I shouldn't have had to do, that I was against, because it said it in my contract and I was stupid and I didn't take it out because of thinking it would never happen to me. I'll never
Right.
need an amniocentesis. I have great pregnancies. Why would I need an amniocentesis? Because they wanted one. Yeah, there was
You
no
know,
reason for it.
we say no to those unless they're medically necessary.
Yeah, I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I
Yep.
will not be.
Nope.
Did they
I have a
ask you,
friend-
Tara? Did they ask you to do one?
It was originally like right when I had signed on, something was said about it. I was like, no, I will not do that. Like,
Good.
Yeah.
like that's like
scary.
already a match, right? Because if the pregnancy is going well, why would we do that?
Why?
Yeah.
Right. Why would you do that? Yeah. It's
I had a friend who had it done, and at 5 months, they pierced the sac and baby died.
Oh my
And
goodness.
very
my
sad.
gosh.
Yeah, very
it's
sad.
invasive, and it's more times than not, it's not necessary. Like it's not an
Mhm.
elective procedure. Like I don't think people get that. Like it's
not a nose
should-
job. It's like
Right.
a real dangerous thing.
It's dangerous.
have you
Mhm.
seen the needle? Like that's no joke. Like it's
Well, and
I
they
don't
do
know.
it by ultrasound. So they look at the ultrasound and they see where the baby is, and then they get ready to put the needle and they turn the ultrasound off. And if that baby moves, God help you. God help you. It's sad. Just to get what? Are you
Yeah.
going to keep the baby anyways? So why do it?
Well,
Why do it?
and nowadays I don't get the point of an amnio, especially if you're doing IVF, because your
Mhm.
the embryo is tested. So
Right.
like I don't
Right.
really know what you're gonna find in an amnio versus what you would have tested. Like I personally don't know the difference, but if you're
You can
running
find
all
out if
What are they even testing for with that?
lungs
Well,
are
you know what?
developed, if lungs are
Yeah,
developed and you can deliver, that's for early
Okay.
delivery. That's one big thing that they're testing. But here's the cautionary tale on the other side. Why don't you just give her the steroids,
yeah.
the 2 injections, and not worry about it, and the baby's lungs will develop. Like, so there's always a remedy for not having an amniocentesis,
Mhm.
right? That's what I think anyway. I don't understand why they have to be done, and I don't think they're done that often anymore.
I haven't heard of a surrogate having an amnio.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
like
don't-
I know
Yeah.
there's plenty of surrogates, but I haven't
Yeah.
talked to one.
It's because they're testing the embryos have been tested so thoroughly that they already know the sex. They already know. I mean, they
Yeah.
know quality. They know everything.
Yeah.
There's no reason really. But that's something we dealt with back then. So just Sharon, if it's in your contract, say no.
Well, I'm sorry, Ellen. I'm
Okay.
sorry that happened to you.
It's all right. It
Letty
is what
is
it
so
is.
sweet. She's like,
It is what it is, Letty. I consider
just
myself
like-
a little bit of a pioneer in that field. I do a little bit.
You
just a
are. You're such a pioneer. You're Superwoman. You're the starter. You're the oldest surrogate I know.
Why, thank you. I
In the
guess.
nicest way possible. That sounded awful. That sounded
Is that
so
a
mean.
is that a compliment?
I don't know how to come back from that.
Maybe just zip.
You're so young, Mom. We look
You
just
can
like sisters. Love
Enter
you.
that rewind sound like
You're funny. I know you
Um,
don't mean that by it. That's
Okay, so so I'm just trying to think like contracts, they have your compensation. They're gonna have that. Oh my God, I haven't
All
read
the
a contract in
extras.
forever, but they're gonna say about health insurance that you're covered or who
Mhm.
you're covered on, stuff about mileage, stuff
Lost
about
wages.
when you get your compensation. Um,
How long how long was your health insurance covered for? Because I think that I've seen
Yeah.
some surrogates where
yeah,
they get cut off at like 8 weeks or 3 months, and then like
That's-
5 months later they have some complication that obviously is due to the pregnancy, and
Yeah. New York?
IPs are refusing
I know.
to.
I was just gonna say that, Mom. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that, Letty, because so like for me, mine have always gone like 3 months after the baby's born. So like I get 3 months. But we just talked to New York Surrogacy Center,
I saw
Joe
that.
Williams, and he was talking to us about the statutes that were in place for surrogates there.
Surrogacy Bill of Rights. Yeah.
And it is wild
1
that
year.
this happens, but I see both sides. But he was saying that surrogate, the IPs have to pay up to a year after.
No, it is a year. It's not up to, it's a year
Is it
after.
a full year?
Yep,
Yes, I
a
know,
full
I said
year.
a
Full
year
year.
after.
A year after the birth. And that, like, what if you get pregnant with your own kid within like the 6 or 7 months, or you want to go start another journey for another
Yeah.
couple?
Let me knock on wood right now.
Right?
Just no.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
A year.
But that's how it is. And he was saying that a lot of IPs were worried about that. But the thing that he's noticed in New York is that he has only encountered like 1, maybe 2 health insurances that don't cover surrogacy. Majority people's insurances in New York cover surrogacy.
Mhm.
California's not like that. Like a lot of states aren't like that. There are so
Well,
many states that are just
New-
like
New York's
get
the
a
only
new
one.
policy.
New York's the only one with a Bill of Rights for a surrogate.
No,
Like,
I'm aware, but I'm just saying that a lot of
Yeah.
health insurances don't cover surrogacy.
They're in the future. New York's living in the surrogacy future, and
Yeah, they
California
are.
and the other states need to catch up, basically.
Yeah.
My God, so many states need to catch up. I mean, California is like right here, but like it would nice to be go farther, but everybody else needs to get to California level.
Well,
You're like baby
California,
steps.
they allow surrogacy, but the fact that their insurances are now putting liens supposedly on insurance, like,
They are, and they're
Yeah.
huge.
which is
They're
ridiculous.
like big bucks.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. Okay, so obviously the delivery, and the care for the baby,
Mhm.
but like the prenatal stuff, like I have Kaiser, half my appointments are on the phone. Hi, how are you? Good? Okay, cool. Bye.
Really?
And then the other ones, they're just like Doppler check. I was just talking to my intended mom about this because she's like, oh, appointments, obviously getting ahead of ourselves, like always, but like the appointments, and I'm like, honestly, it's so boring. I pee in a cup, they test it, I go in, the Doppler. How you feeling? Good? All right. Well, here's your next 2 appointments, see you later.
Yeah.
And that's just half of them. And they have a huge lien. Kaiser has a huge lien.
Yeah.
And I feel like they heard me in and heard me out of there. And
Interesting.
what I don't get, like, just pay for the bill, the prenatal, like, what are you doing that's so, like, it's crazy. It's just money, right, for the
It
insurance company.
doesn't make sense because I know, because I mean that's where we're at right now. And it's interesting to find out that like because I think there's only 3 in California. I don't know other places, but like Blue Cross Blue Shield has a big lien. Kaiser has a big lien. And then Oscar no longer, I was told, no longer accepts or does surrogacy because that was my last health insurance.
Oscar,
yeah, but it's only
that's
it's only LA based.
okay. I was like,
Wait,
I've
so
never heard of
Kaiser
that.
is an insurance company?
Kaiser is an
Kaiser's an
insurance.
insurance
Yeah.
company.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
And
Is Kaiser
Letty,
not around the world?
Are you using Kaiser, Letty, for your journey coming up?
yes, and another thing that Kaiser, and this is like when I went to Surrogacy, I've had Kaiser since, forever. So it feels so like nobody talks about Kaiser or they don't use Kaiser. And it took me a lot to find anything on how it works or whatever.
Mhm.
But basically in your contract, and they'll kind of like copy paste it. So in your Kaiser contract, it says that you have 30 days to show them your contract. You have like show Kaiser. They have like this company called Roland something
Okay.
that handles the liens. So you have to send a copy of your surrogacy contract within 30 days of signing, and
Okay.
then they figure out all the lien based on your compensation.
Yes.
And then the intended
Yeah.
parent can pay it up front, or they can pay it like after the delivery.
Yes.
I was wondering what surrogates were saying about that because I knew a girl who was talking about Kaiser, but I thought it was a hospital. And she was saying, well, how they take a percentage of her compensation. I was like,
Yep.
what?
I think
Well, they don't
Kaiser,
take
not
it from her.
yeah.
They don't take it from her.
From
They
her.
make so let's just say you're making $50,000, right?
Mhm.
They will put a 20% lien on that $50,000. So
Is it
they're
20,
gonna
Letty?
charge. I can't remember the exact
Okay.
So in that
amount.
instance, it's 10 grand.
In that instance, it would be $10,000
Uh-huh.
that they're gonna bill the intended parents for.
Right.
And they pay it separate. And see, that's
Oh.
the thing that a lot of people are confused about. And so was I with Kaiser. I was like, because of the way the Kaiser contract works, it says that they will be holding your compensation. It says something like, I will send you a picture and you can attach it to this. But and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I was like, and when they explain it, they're like, no, it's billed separately to the intended parent, and they pay it. It does not actually come out of your compensation.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah.
So in your instance, Kennedy, it's not the full amount. It's a percentage. It's a percentage of your compensation, and it's not taken from you, but that's how they.
I never said it was.
You've been saying that it's the entire amount.
To understand something, Blue Cross Blue Shield is different than Kaiser.
Right.
And what I've been told is that Blue Cross Blue Shield is 100%. So instead of Letty saying 20%, if a surrogate's base is $80,000, that person, it's 100%. So the IPs have to pay
another
$80,000
plus
what?
My understanding is plus the policy.
Don't even get an insurance policy then. Just pay out of pocket.
Oh, Kaiser, some of the companies, so like say you had Oscar, right? You said you had Oscar?
I had Oscar before, yeah.
And it covers surrogacy?
In LA County,
okay.
yeah.
And so now your insurance policy doesn't?
Well, my personal insurance has never covered.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I've always been bought policies.
Yeah.
And so see, if your insurance company, let's say you have Anthem Blue Cross, and they have a lien, and intended parent goes, oh, you know what, I would just rather get a surrogacy friendly insurance company that doesn't have a lien, because before it was a thing.
Right.
They could do that. You could have double insurance. Kaiser doesn't allow that.
No.
They're like, you may not purchase a second policy. You have to use us.
We're changing this to a different topic, but like, but it's so important because
it all goes in the contract, though.
It is in the contract, and it's something. It's not making any sense to me because I've done this so many times. And it's just like, wait, I just had a baby not that long ago for surrogacy, and now everything's changing. So it doesn't make any sense. But my understanding is, same with Blue Cross Blue Shield. My understanding is they won't let you have double.
Yep. And I think a lot of them are going
they're going the opposite. They're going backwards. California, it seems like California is like not as surrogate friendly as everybody wants to think it is, because they're like, you guys can't have insurance as surrogates. Sure, you guys can be a surrogate, but good luck getting insurance.
You just have to be very careful that if your insurance doesn't cover surrogacy, that you are demanding for a policy to be purchased for you, so that you don't get stuck in a tricky situation where you can't say the full truth. Because at the end of the day, that personal policy is for your family, and it's in your name, and you're the one responsible, and you're the one who signed the contract that you're going to follow the rules.
Exactly.
And so that's the bottom line, and it goes back to being your own advocate. Like in the contract, you need to make sure that they're buying a policy, they're paying for the policy, and you need to check how long after the baby is born you get to keep that policy. So
it's a big deal.
It's so crazy. Tara, your face is just like, you guys over there in California are so crazy. Letty's in California, so.
Oh, you are? Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Tara, you're right. It is so with Kaiser, they're the insurance company, they're the hospital, they're the medical center, they're the radiology, they're the labs, they're the everything.
They're like,
so if you hear Kaiser, it's one and all. So
okay.
Which I love Kaiser. I mean, I love Kaiser, but
I don't like Kaiser.
I want to love Kaiser, but I don't.
I've never done a surrogacy with them, though. Never done. I've always had policies bought, but that was way back when. And they were always Blue Cross. Always. It's the only one that covered it. Yeah.
So Tara, that doesn't work that way where you guys live?
Not that I've heard of. I know that people have bought insurance policies for surrogates, but what you guys were describing, I was like, oh my gosh.
It's crazy. It's because I mean, I haven't heard of anywhere else where people get liens and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. You hear New York, and then you hear about California, and then you hear about all these other states, and you're just like, wait, we're like so far from one another. None of this makes any sense. But anyways, other things in contracts are, oh my gosh. Well, I'm just gonna bring it up. Because of my mom, this is the most controversial controversial thing. Look at Tara. She's like, I know what you're going.
I already know.
Controversial topic that people just don't freaking get. And so let's talk.
Look at Ellen how to take off a layer of
she's like,
for this.
I did. My neck. I have so much stress in my neck right now. I'm like, oh, I
gotta get this. Okay, so I have always been told by my mom from her own experiences, thank the Lord for my mama, that I should ask for an hour of alone time with me and my family and the surrogate baby. And that has been taken and spun into 1,000 different views.
Yeah.
And it is wild. And I will say why I do it I'll say why I do it after you ladies say why, if you agree with it or if you don't agree with it, because I don't want to give my input before you give your opinion.
Tara, go.
For me, when I first listened to your guys' podcast, I don't know as to which one it had came up. I think I was listening to your third journey, or that's one that went sour, right?
Yep.
And you had talked about how that needs to be in the contract about the hour alone with the baby. And I was like, yes, I would absolutely do that. And then I didn't even put it in my contract this time.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't, and I was going to, but then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm worried that that's gonna scare the guys away.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm just really hoping that this continues to be a good relationship, because for me, even just for my son, he needs to have that closure. Like, that's most important to me, is always him seeing, I was pregnant, here's a baby. They're now with their parents. That is so important to me. When COVID happened and and my son wasn't able to be in the hospital with me, I had a total meltdown with my intended mom in the hospital room, like crying my eyes out. I was like, my son needs to meet the baby and needs to see that she goes to, I'm gonna get teary-eyed.
Oh, Tara, I feel you on so many levels.
Did they allow you to do that via FaceTime or anything?
Or they actually let us go to meet them at the hotel that they're at. So
that was very nice.
Good. That's good. I'm
very
so
nice
to hear that. That's important to some people. It is. It doesn't
should be
have
important
to be
to everyone.
I'm not going to say that. No, it doesn't have to be important to everyone, because if not everybody needs that closure, like that form of closure, then fine, you don't need that form of closure. But for those who do, I think it's so crappy that people crap talk on that. Like, don't just leave us be.
Let me rephrase. The surrogate is doing one journey. There's a whole family over here, whether it's one child, 5 children, and a husband, a domestic partner. I don't know what it is over here for everybody. That's the different part. So the surrogate needs to do what she needs to do, but she has to keep her mind open. What does this family need? What do your dependents need? Your significant others, do they need some type of closure? Have you asked them what they need? Because
it's everybody.
It is. It's not just a you thing. It's everybody. So that's what I'm saying. It's important. It has to be brought up in a family situation or whatever type of domestic relationship you're in. It has to be brought up on how you're going to handle it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, that's what I mean. It shouldn't have to go in every contract, but you do need to discuss it.
I just had to clarify, because there's a lot of haters, and I'm not about to deal.
I don't know why there's a lot of haters.
They do. They get so upset about it. I remember do I even say the post as to what happened, and how they're like, she doesn't need to see the baby for an hour, and that's my baby. Like, you trusted us to carry your baby for how long? Please just allow us to have that closing the chapter of especially just for me, like not even just for me, but just like of how I said, like my son, it was just so important, because at the time he was so little. Now he understands surrogacy more, but for me, just not to even let him
acknowledge
see
it,
what was going on, like that. So that scared me. I was like, oh my gosh, please let him see the baby.
Right. And it does a lot for your psyche too.
Yeah.
Getting the closure for everybody else who needs it. Yeah. Sad. But we won't open those doors. I'm sorry.
Too late. They're open. Open them wide open. I'm here for it. Come at me. I don't care. Okay. So Letty, what are you in agreement with it? Are you not?
So yes, but
go girl, you're good.
Yes, because I kind of demanded that in a because it wasn't the contract that I was gonna have time with the baby, like 1 hour. It didn't say alone time, and that's the only thing that I'm just like, but also like I feel like making it like if you take the alone part of it, it doesn't sound so like possessive, you know what I mean? Because like,
right.
and then I feel like I wouldn't I would, that's what I would edit out, because I would be like, oh my gosh, they're gonna think I want their baby, and like that's the last thing I want, right?
Right.
But it was in my contract, in all the contracts actually was in there that I would have an hour with the baby. And because of COVID, my daughter wasn't there, and I was like, this is the thing. If you guys do anything right, you know, because I had like a rough ending there. I was like, my daughter needs to see this baby.
Yes.
It was just, I was like, my daughter sang to this baby. My daughter rubbed my feet. Like, she is part of this journey. Like, she needs the closure. And so, because it was in my contract, it wasn't really hard to
adjust.
You know, yeah, they couldn't really say no. I mean, they could have, but it was like a little bit harder. I would have been like, it's in the contract.
Right.
But yeah, I think the way it's worded is going to be so important. And especially in contract stages, it's still kind of like a weird place, especially if you haven't been able to speak to your intended parents, which is like another thing that
right.
I've had both experiences now, and yeah, it can get like weird, really awkward, really quickly, I guess.
And I think if it's explained in the contract, like an hour for the surrogate and her family for closure, or surrogate and her unit for closure, in the hospital, or barring any pandemics, like at a disclosed location of the IPs. Like if you have to get nitty gritty and say it, but if you just put in there 1 hour alone time with a baby,
it sounds
does,
creepy.
It does.
To me, I'd be like, well, like,
right. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want to tattoo your name on her shoulder? What do you want to do? Yeah.
I will say that in my first 2 contracts, because shocker, I didn't put it in my 3rd contract. But I did put it in my first 2 contracts, and that's how it was worded. And when I talked to my lawyers, we worded it in such a way that it says, God, what was it? It was like the surrogate requests an hour with after the baby is born. It does not have to, it was like something like an hour after the baby is born, but it wasn't like right after the baby. An hour after birth, the surrogate requests an hour at any time before the baby and her are discharged, with only her and her family to say hello and goodbye for closure. Like that was it, because I was like, I don't know how it's going to go with the IPs. Like I didn't know anything like that, but I just, it was the pandemic during the 3rd one. So I just like kind of already knew my kids were going to be able to be there. So like I wasn't going to fight on that. And honestly, I didn't really care at the end anyways.
That's a question though, like that. And I'm going to say this, your contract and how smooth it goes is so dependent on your communication prior with the intended parents. Match meeting, just ask them, how do you feel to be hanging out with your baby by myself for an hour, and just watch their expression. If they're like, you know, like, or first set yourself up. I know you're trusting me this whole pregnancy, right? They'll be like, oh, we trust you. So it shouldn't be a problem to be with an, you know, if that's really what you want, alone time. Because, you know, then, and once they say yes, then boom, you can put it in your contract, and then they have to sign it because they've already told you that it was fine. So some of the stuff, just, you got to throw it out there and roll the dice.
That's what we did this time, because the agency was like, so like taking every agency I've talked to, they're like, that's so weird. Like, and I'm like, it's not, but it's fine. And they were like, and so they brought it up to these IPs, and they were like, oh, they're like okay with it. And I'm like, don't sound so surprised. Like people have good hearts. And when we talked, the IM was like, she said to me, she's like, well, yeah, if I'm going to trust you to carry my baby alone for like 9 months,
Exactly.
if you want to like have
Exactly.
closure with you and your family, you guys are all going on this journey together. That's absolutely okay with me. And I was like, oh, how easy is that? But my second journey, my agency didn't even ask. They didn't even ask my IPs first. They gave me so much hell for wanting it. And they fought me so hard. And they were like, that's so weird. Like, but like we tell them that like you should get the hour. And I'm like, it needs to be written. Like, thank you so much. But they gave
You're
me
like, you can say whatever you want, but if it's not in writing.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people get misinterpret it for like, we want to keep the baby when it's literally what the both of you just said. I mean, that's how I feel too. My kid was so little. I have pictures of my kid being so little, and I have a picture where I'm on the bed. I just posted it. I'm on the bed. I'm holding the surrogate baby. And my kid is like a year and a half old, and his hand is on my belly. And he's like, and it's like, yeah, there's no baby there anymore. It's right here. And like, to me, that was really important.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
But Mom, was it in your contracts or did you add them?
No, it was in.
That's so weird.
It was in the first one, and I made sure it was in the second one and the third one. I made sure.
Yeah, because didn't one of them try and dip out on you?
Yes.
Yeah.
The third one.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're like, wait a minute.
I went and got her. I went and got her. I went and got her. And then a nurse tried to come in and
see
take
that
her
right now.
A nurse tried to come in and take
Ellen
her away.
going through the halls in a robe, like, excuse me.
I look at these bands, they match. I'm taking her. And I told the charge nurse ahead of time, I'm coming down at 5:00. My family will be here. I'm gonna take her. And she's like, okay, no problem. I took her and they left, thank God. And then a nurse came in and wanted to take her 10 minutes before my hour was up. And I had her in a little pinky, little onesie, like a little pajama-y thing, because I wanted cute pictures, not in the stupid hospital thing. And she comes in and she goes, why are you dressing her in clothing? And I'm like, because we're playing house. Like, what do you think? Like, yeah. So I said, I will bring her back when the hour is over. Get out. Yeah. She was just a fill-in nurse. And so I, of course, reported her, went to the charge. It was whatever.
Oh, Ellen.
Yeah, I got my hours. I got them. I made sure.
Now we know where Kennedy gets her staff from.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Look at her go, oh, Ellen. And she's just like,
that's right. Gotta be.
I'm mini. It's fine.
She is.
The mini version. So do you feel like, Mom, like like you needed it for closure for you?
I needed it for me. For the first journey, it was me. My kids, whatever. And I'm not being mean, but it was, I don't even know how old you were, 5?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my kids, they could have cared less. They had their own lives. For me, it was very, very important. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then you guys did come. And then I was like, no, this is really important because this is a huge part of our lives. Huge part. And I made sure it was in the second, made sure it was in the third. And I never got any pushback on it. I never did. I was with the same agency twice. And then the last one, I was with a different one. They kind of asked me about it, but I'm like, no, I would like that. And the IPs didn't fight it. But they're the ones who wanted to dip out on it. It's fine. It's okay.
It's fine. It's all
just
good.
Gotta stick up for yourself. And all those hormones raging after you give birth, Jesus Christ. Like, just give us a little time so we can just say goodbye. Christ almighty. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
That's what it comes to. I think that's what it comes down to is the misinterpretation of, I think, why surrogates are.
Why do they want that time?
Why do you want it? That seems so evil. Like they just got their baby. It's like, oh yeah, I want the baby. I want to snatch the baby from the parents' arms. The moment the baby hits their arms, I'm like, wait, that's my baby.
Oh my
God. No, and you know what? You can't please anybody. You want to snatch the baby, or how dare they snatch the baby from you? Because it's, and we're like, it's their baby. It's like, you can't win. There's always a keyboard warrior, my husband calls them, right? Keyboard warrior somewhere ready to figure out how they can be mad. It's just,
it's so great. No one's snatching. Let's just say this. No one's snatching a baby from anybody. Surrogates are like, here's your baby. I'm gonna go and have a glass of wine. You guys have a great night with your crying baby. Been there, done that. See you later. And like, I'll see the baby in like the morning. Have a good night. Like, I want to eat. I don't want to be bugged.
Can you send me that recording? Yeah, that's literally exactly what you just said. All the things.
Yeah. Honestly, that is like my favorite part of being pregnant is delivery, and with it not being my baby, because then it's like,
Oh my
I
God.
just did something and now I can relax, and like I
You
feel
got to
so
the finish line.
empowered. But
Yeah.
like you feel so empowered, like it feels empowering, like your body just went through all this, but like also you don't have to wake up to like a screaming baby and like raise the baby.
Oh yeah, my
That's
IM just said the other day, she goes, "Oh, because she's done like IVF, she tried like the transfer or whatever, but she's like, oh, I'm, it feels weird to be happy that I'm not the one like getting shots." I was like, she's like, it feels like weird. I was like, don't make it feel weird. I was like, I'm gonna be so happy when I hand that baby over and I'm not the one awake all night. I was like, please, by all means, be so happy that you're not getting shots.
Right.
Because I will have no like guilt,
No,
none.
having her back. Yeah.
None.
It's funny.
Do you ladies have any advice for somebody who doesn't like something that's in their contract or wants to add something in their contract, but maybe they're like too nervous, too scared, maybe they're worried that it'll scare off the IPs or it'll make them think differently, or feel like it's an attack?
Talk to other surrogates. I mean, that's really just find your community, talk to other surrogates, ask them the questions, and then hopefully you have an agency or a coordinator that is experienced, either a surrogate herself or just has gone through lots of contracts. For the first time this journey, my agency was like, my coordinator was like, send me the contract so I could check all the fees for you.
Oh,
right. They wanted to make sure that nothing was lost in, translation. And I did, like, why not another pair of eyes, right? I think it's just like surrogates is another surrogate is the only person, especially an experienced one, that's gonna have the eyes, the eagle eyes you need to do that. And like, what can I change? And I don't know, can you change your lawyer? Like, say you do get staff, like say I've never heard anybody do this before, but like, I wish that when I got staff my first one, I would have been like, you're fired. You're fired. I just fired you. Like, we're not doing this. And then get someone else to represent you. Because like, don't be afraid. If you can't, don't be afraid to do that, because if they're making you feel like you're like,
my understanding, I've talked to a surrogacy lawyer, and my understanding is that you have every right to say, I don't want to work with you anymore, I want to work with somebody else. You most likely will get pushback, but know that it's within your right to be like, because you know what, it's not that maybe you have to go to a different firm. I mean, you probably could, maybe you could, like, that's
maybe talk to another paralegal,
but just talk to somebody else within that office,
and not be afraid to be like, you're not making me feel comfortable with this review. Like, you're making me feel like you're not on my team. Like, can I talk to somebody else?
So are you saying before contracts are signed, you're well within your right to go get another lawyer if you don't feel someone's supporting you? Or are you saying you can do that after contracts are signed too?
I know that you can definitely do it before. And I honestly, gosh, I should have listened to Joanna's podcast before I came on here, because we talk about that there.
Yeah, we did.
She mentions it. So I
think it's going to be a little harder to get out of it once you've signed contracts and fees have been paid, like for the lawyer's advice. But if they're really steering you wrong, I think the majority of their advice is coming when they're putting in the contracts together. Like making the legal jargon, making it all that work. But if you're uncomfortable, if we're uncomfortable with a doctor, with someone who's going to give us a physical, or an OBGYN giving us a PAP, like, if we're uncomfortable, we can leave. We can go get another doctor. Why can't we get another lawyer if we don't feel that they're supporting us in the journey? Interesting.
And it's weird because that first journey I talked to paralegal, but my last journey, it was the attorney that I talked to. And I use the same attorney because he's so awesome.
I think it should be the
personable
attorney.
And available. Yeah.
I think it should be the paralegals.
I think that's another thing, is like, you should, because they get a big fat fee to review this pre-drafted contract, you can definitely say like, hey, you know what, I know that you mean well, but I actually want to talk to the attorney. Right.
Yep. Yes. I have never talked to a paralegal. I have always talked to Um,
Which one?
guys, I just got the email. My match broke.
It did.
What?
Oh, sorry.
You know,
I am so at peace with this decision. I'm sad
Good.
because it's like, gosh darn. Okay. What were we talking about?
Just you can change
lawyers. You can
lawyers,
ask for
Yeah.
and ask for to talk to the actual attorney, like,
not the paralegal. Yeah.
Yeah.
and ask for your surrogate's friends to review your contracts.
Yes.
Like, anybody
Yeah.
listening want me to look at their contract, you just hit me up on Instagram and you send that to me, and we will go page by page. Like, you
Right.
have
Love it.
questions, like,
Love it.
it's a lot.
It's
It
a
is a
lot,
lot.
especially for a first-time surrogate who doesn't understand legal jargon. Like, I mean, granted, legal jargon for any surrogate or any person in the world is like awful, but like
Yeah.
especially a first-time surrogate, because you have no idea what's right, what's wrong, what's expected,
And
what's being
also
thrown
the
at you.
love goggles, and you just want to be pregnant, and the
Right.
rest is like, we'll figure it out later.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Not figuring it out
Yeah.
later. Jesus.
You want to add anything to that, Tara?
No, I think if anything, just add it into the contract. The only thing, like, I even got pushback on something, and I was like, okay, fine, I guess we won't do it that way. Like, try to meet somewhere. But if it's super important to you and they're not going to budge on it, then you know that maybe that's not the match for you.
Yeah.
Like, if they were to ever say, like, no, sorry, after you deliver, we're going to be leaving the hospital immediately, like, no closure for anybody, that to me would be like immediately, like, that's not the match for me whatsoever. Like, you can have your baby afterwards, but I also still need that closure. Like,
Right.
just put it in there and see what they have to say.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, yeah, I think that that's I obviously speak from a hellish journey, and so it will forever be in my freaking contract because
Yeah.
I'm so strict on what I put in my contracts now. And like a lot of girls ask me like, oh, like, you like what like, you know, what should I put, what should I say? And I'm just like, well, just think about like what's important to you. Like, if
Yep.
there are things that like aren't that important, don't like, and like you just like don't care, like then don't fight on it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just like dumb things. But like if something's really important to you and they don't allow it, or they're pushing back on it, push back, come to a compromise. You don't have to go, it doesn't have to be 100% one side. Like, you can easily, that's what contracts are for. You can come to an agreement, but you should try to put all your important things out there in a match meeting, because if, as long as you lay that out to begin with before you match, it shouldn't really cause trouble like come contracts, because it's like, woo.
And that's what I mean. Like, especially if you've done this once, write it all down, throw it all at them during match.
Yeah.
Watch their face.
Yep.
Ask the question and shut up. Like, literally, ask the question and shut up. Do not say one more word.
Yep.
And that was actually my husband's great idea for match meetings. He's like, you have something really important, ask the question and shut up, because don't say anything else and let them be the ones. Good. Because you're gonna find out a lot from their expression, their reaction, just how they hesitate, if they don't hesitate, and if it's something that's that big of a deal for you and you guys are not on the same page, then that's the answer you need. Like, that's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I think we covered a lot. I mean, obviously it's hard to cover everything in contracts. Everybody's contracts are different. I mean, my girlfriend had like over 100 pages of contract, and like that didn't even work. And I'm just like, 100 pages, that's a lot. Like, what's in there? Like, that's too much. And then, you know, Letty's saying 38, and I'm like, that is drastically different. Like, it's just, it's crazy. So, but they're a pain in the butt to read. Best thing to do is have, the more eyes you can get on it that you trust, I think the better outcome it is for you just in general, because maybe you'll read something and then somebody else will somebody else will read it differently, and it's like, ooh, well, I want it to for sure say this, so like, let's get it right.
Yeah. And everybody's lens, like Tara has gone through journeys where she'd be like, that needs to be like updated. That I would never have thought about. Because I don't have that lens. I haven't experienced that, right? And same with like Kennedy or Ellen, like things that, I mean, experience is like king here, right? With contracts, really.
Yeah. Every, I think that's also why it's so important for everybody who is willing to share their stories, because you learn like, oh, wait, I like that, or oh wait, I don't like that. Like what unaccounted. Like that's a great
Unaccountable.
you
Yeah.
said, Letty, about for escrow. That's fantastic. I'm gonna steal that because like
Good, do
too
it.
much. It's too much to send in all these receipts that don't necessarily need to be there. So
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Well, thank you, ladies. I don't know if there's anything else to add.
I don't think so.
I know we did
Don't rush.
We
don't rush
talked
through your
about
contracts. Yeah.
we
Don't
talked
rush.
about the most controversial part of it all, which is like an hour with the baby. And like it's totally fine. People can just deal. It's fine. Not every surrogate wants that.
Nope.
There are some surrogates who are just like, okay, I gave
We're
birth,
done.
there's your baby, bye, and she's done.
And
Totally.
she's out
And
of the
there's
hospital.
nothing wrong with that as
Nothing.
long as
Nothing.
IP and surrogate is on the same page. And there's
Yep.
also nothing wrong with like, I need an hour with that baby.
Yeah.
Maybe not alone, or maybe alone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever.
To
whatever.
get you where you need to be. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. And as long
For
as
sure.
both parties agree,
Yes.
it's nobody else's place outside of those parties to
Yes.
comment, like
Right.
at all. I hear
Right.
of surrogates that want, when the baby's born, they ask in their contracts. I've heard this, that they ask in their contracts to have the baby placed on their chest. That's not something that I need nor ask. I didn't get that with my son, so I definitely don't want that with a baby that's not mine. But if that's important for you, then okay, I'm not in your journey. I don't know what you need out of it.
Yeah.
If your IPs are cool with it, who cares? Who cares? Who cares?
It's just people are gonna find something to be upset about, like the housekeeping thing. Remember, I shared that my last match, they wanted to take housekeeping out, and then I talked to like some into the parents on Instagram were like, well, we did that too. And in my head, I'm like, I don't have family that can come over and like help me clean my entire house when I'm like 36 weeks pregnant. Like,
Right.
for me, this is something that like I need, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And then someone was like, well, like just said something snarky. And I was like, girl, did I ask you to come clean my house?
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
No.
It's like,
Like, why are you upset? That nothing to do with you?
yeah, like
Wow.
please stop. Unless you're gonna come clean my house for free, like don't worry about what the IPs are paying. It's not coming out of your check. Like, stop.
Yep.
It's a lot of people
Silly things.
a lot of opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And
a
lot
as long
of the
as
time
you and an IP are good, then it's good.
But it's funny to me because a lot of people that have a lot of strong opinions aren't even in surrogacy.
Right.
So it's like,
they're not.
I don't care what your opinion is by like bye. Like, no, whatever. See you later.
Like, okay, John from Ohio. Like, why are you so mad, sir?
No, thank y'all. No, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate it. And
absolutely. It's always a fun time talking to you guys.
Yay.
Thanks for joining, ladies. Thanks.
We'll have to.
I'm excited to see what the next topic will be.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, ladies. I hope you guys come back and have another like conversation with us. This was so fun.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Good luck with your betas and your heartbeat stuff. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, I can't wait.
We love you guys, and I'm so excited. Have a good night, ladies.
All right. Good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So cute.
I love these topics. Like, and I love these ladies, and like it's just so amazing. Sweet. And thank you, Tara and Letty, so much for your input. And it's
a lot of good info from them. A lot of good info.
A lot. Yeah. Well, we'll wrap this up because it's long. But if anybody has any stories or questions that they would like to share, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Stop.Sit.Surrogate.
It's been another edition of Stop.Sit.Surrogate Contracts with Kennedy and Ellen.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.